Do you think it's okay for big pharma to advertise on TV events, sporting events, all that? Do you think that's okay?
I don't have a good. I haven't thought about that. I come from a place where we don't, so I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, but why don't you guys? Because you do come from a place that don't. It's only two places that do. It's us and New Zealand. Why don't you guys? Why don't the other 190 whatever amount of countries that we have? Why don't they advertise?
It's a good question.
They're not allowed.
Well, by the way, I'm not saying that we have the answer. I'm just saying let's have the discourse. Why? Like, what can we speculate why they don't allow pharma companies to advertise in those countries?
So I know when I come to the U.S., I see all these ads on all kinds of things I can do, and I'm sort of like, ooh, I should do that because it'll make me more safe. And then I'm also starting worrying, oh my God, do I have this? Do I have this disease? Could this be? You know, I don't know. I'm just freewheeling here, but I'm guessing that a lot of this leads to some anxiety as well, and it also leads me to vastly overspend because I know. So when I go to, have you guys ever gone to get vaccinated for something? Then they tell you, did you know this bug? And you have no idea, is this something that bites one person in Sweden every year, or is this something we all die from? But you feel like maybe I should get that vaccinated. It's not. Advertising on things you have virtually no sense of is probably not the right way to get information. Imagine if they did it for Boeing and Airbus. They were advertising, do you really want to get on a Boeing flight? Don't you want to go with a more safe Airbus? Can you make these decisions? It's probably nice to have other people making those decisions, whether we should certify them as airworthy.
What do you think, Tom?
I'm against pharma advertising, and I go back to a case study that was back when I was growing up. There were afternoon soap operas that were very popular in the United States, and when they would on General Hospital or The Young and Restless, there were these very incredibly popular shows that were like the most popular shows on television at the time, and they would invent some random malady to create a storyline and tension. And an amazing amount of, let's face it, mostly housewives who were home watching these things used to call their doctor or go to their doctor and say, I think I've got these two symptoms. I think I have blah, blah, blah. It's because they saw it at General Hospital. And so I think there's a certain psychosomatic effect that you can have on the populace. And I do not think that a hyper-medicated populace is a good thing. And I'm not in favor of pharma, advertising for two reasons. One, I don't think the societal benefit is there to scare and induce. And then also, pharma has to get back the cost of their advertising, and the drugs in America are already expensive, Pat. And so now if you're advertising a Super Bowl commercial, well, then the Super Bowl commercial cost is going to be in that medication. And I think that we did very, very well in the rest of the world with pharmaceutical representatives educating doctors at symposiums, and then doctors, prescribe them accordingly as the various FDAs of the world in the various countries or collections of countries did it. So I am against medical advertising for that reason. Psychosomatic effect on the populace, and it increases, not decreases, the cost of the medications at the end unit, because you got to get the advertising dollars back. And you create this, and suddenly you create this monster where you're a research organization looking for the next problem, and you're trying to find the next problem on a grand scale. And you do make a good point that eradicating malaria, which is one of the things that the Gates Foundation, I don't agree with them on everything at all, but the Gates Foundation, one of their charters was, hey, what are one of our BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, to quote a popular business book? And they said, let's eradicate malaria on a global basis. And it's not that it's still a problem in sub-Saharan Africa, it's that it's down to sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. And the progress has been made, and we're going to help elevate the quality of life for those folks.
You know what you guys made me think about, both of you? So while you're talking, I went up there and I looked up, because of what you said there's a part when you look at it, oh my God, do I have this? Am I not taking this? Maybe increases stress, all this other, right? And then Tom, the way you would exercise, you start kind of being worried about it. So I went online. Have you guys ever had anybody in your life that's hypochondria? Do you have anybody close to you that's hypochondria? Do you have anybody you probably don't, because you live in a country that they don't advertise, but do you have somebody
Yes, fortunately not close to me in my immediate family, but there is a member of the extended family that
we don't need the details, it's just close.
But the name, please.
Please give us the name, phone number, address.
I was only describing it so people listening can go, got it, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so do you have somebody in your life that is?
Yeah, the hypochondriac's a real thing. They think they're sick. They get it's like self-fulfilling prophecy.
Crazy? You know what's crazy about them? It's like I'll sit there and I listen to them, and I'll be like, man, dude, I would hate to be you. Because you have so many sick. Did you know that if you do this? Did you know that if you do that? Did you know the weather? Did you know that this? Did you know that? Did you know that? Don't touch that. Don't. Oh my goodness! What must you be thinking about all day long? But here's the question: how did you become this? Can you pull up data, Rob? Type the following: increase in hypochondria cases in America. Okay, increase in hypochondria cases in America. We're jealous because in your country this doesn't exist. Because in your country, you're not being advertised left and right that the end of the world is coming. See if you can pull up a chart, because the one I have right now is showing that it's been an increase, and more people are dealing with hypochondria. They're afraid that they're not healthy, they're not good, they're having issues. I don't know if you're able to find it or not, but keep looking for it. While you're looking for it, we'll talk about it,
Here's an article here that says anxiety is the most searched symptom on Google.
But how does that happen, though? Like here's we asked the question last week when we were talking to a couple friends, who gets the best out of you, right? And we thought about a couple names. And then the follow-up question was, I want you to think about the person that gets the worst out of you. Who gets the worst out of you, okay? So then the next question becomes, who do you listen to on television that by the time you're done, you have anxiety? Who do you listen to on YouTube or television, by the time you're done, you're like, man, we got this, right? So if you watch advertisements on health, like I'll give you an idea. I almost don't want to, I can't tell this story. It's a funny story, but I can't tell this story.
Now you have
I'm
to
telling
tell
you, I can't tell this story.
You have to,
I can't.
You don't have to name names.
He's gonna feel so bad. He's gonna feel so bad. But I'll give you one of the stories. I won't tell this whole story. But by the way, this is from 30 years ago. So we had
30 years. You're past the statute of limitations on the story. Pat.
I'm gonna tell you this story. I won't tell the other one, but I'll tell this one because this is not as dark as the other one. We had a guy that were playing basketball one day. We're 13, 14 years old. Conversation of masturbation comes up. Okay,
this is where we're going.
Obviously, nobody here's ever masturbated, but some do. Okay,
you've heard.
You've heard, yes, statistics, right? But my boys are getting to that age, so they're going through a puberty class that we got to sign off and all this stuff. And I'm looking at the content of this puberty class that they got to go through. I'm like, dude, I can teach it to you in 5 minutes. Let's sit down. As a father, I'll break it down for you how this stuff works. But so we're going through this, playing basketball. One of our guys asked a question because there was a story that week in school about AIDS. Okay. And the story was that, AIDS is starting to spread. So then one guy asks a question. He says, can you get AIDS by masturbating? And so we collectively as a group are like, of course you can get it. We're playing a prank on this guy. This poor guy gets so scared. Obviously, it's a dirty prank that, sometimes it's type of stuff that happens. This guy gets worried. He goes to the doctor. He starts panicking for a couple weeks. He asks his mom to go to the emergency room, goes to the doctor, asks his mom to step out of the room and asks the doctor, can I get AIDS from masturbating? And the doc starts laughing. He says, what do you mean? He says, no, I'm telling you, because they're talking about in school right now that this can happen. This was a topic of discussion in the school for about a month. Look at Tom's face for a second, Tom. By the way, as dumb of an example as I'm giving you right now, go back to when you were a kid and how somebody would say something to you. I had a cut one time here. Okay, we got into a fight and I got a cut and the other guy's blood touched my blood. Everybody's like, hey, you're going to die because that guy's sick. For a week I'm like, this is it. I'm going around telling everybody in my family, Mom, I love you. I love you. If something happens, I love you. Nothing's happening, right? So again, I'm giving you a very simple example here as when we were young, what we feared because somebody bullshitted you into thinking you could die from XYZ because you're doing this. And young boys, that's a conversation boys have amongst boys when you go through this phase, right? You think bring that up to 45 years old and you're sitting and watching a basketball game, ESPN. Have you been farting a lot lately? There could be a cause that you have liver cancer. And with this medicine that's out here right now, by this FDA approved, but it's not FDA approved, but if you take this medicine, you need to see your doctor because if you have farted more than 17 times in a day, I know this is a joke, but people are sitting there saying, maybe I have liver cancer because I fart one too many times. Maybe I have this. Yeah. There's a part of me that's convinced based on what both of your answer was, not based on data. There's a reason why these other countries don't allow big pharma to advertise because it probably increases anxiety. How many Rob, can you pull up a commercial to see what percentage of commercials on TV are about some drugs or prescription or big pharma? I'm so curious to know what percentage is 70% drug low therapeutic value study finds. No, I want to know what percentage of commercials on TV, what percentage of commercials on TV are big pharma? Yeah, I just want to know what
you're solving for 1 out of every 10 commercials
you're looking
selling a drug.
$6.6 billion. Hey, big spenders. Big pharma spent $6.6 billion on ads last year. $6.6 billion.
Find the total ad spend overall.
I just want to know what percentage is big pharma. That is all I want to know. What percentage is big pharma?
And 20% of that is that high-speed talking at the end of the ad.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. I just found
Side effects include genital rash and loss of head.
Okay, watch what I just found. Check this out. Check this out, Tom. Pharmaceutical industry, TV advertising spending in the United States from 2020, it's shown the dollar amount, but it's also shown on this website, Statista, that says in 2020, TV ad spending of the big pharma industry accounted for 75% of total ad spend.
What?
Tom, did you hear what I just said?
Wait, what?
Okay, so let me send this to you, Rob. Go Google this. Type in what, you found it? 75%. What are we talking? So no wonder people have hypochondria in America.
Wow.
No wonder people are panicking that they're dying. No wonder people are so worried about everything because of these ads 75% of the time. My question a lot of times, I'll go from this. Let's just say I have a very strong argument in some area, right? And I'm a capitalist to the core. So I prefer to talk to communists and socialists. So I'll have a Sam Cedar or a Cenk or a Kyle or a Pacman or what was that? Vivek, not Vivek. One of the bigger socialists. He's got an interesting name, a communist. Or Richard Wolff, the professor, who's the #1 socialist professor in America, according to Forbes 2016, 2017. And I'll talk to them and I'll say, ooh, there's a leak right there for your capitalist argument. Got it. Oh, okay, you see, they have a point there. They have a point here, right? And you're kind of trying to strengthen the argument. 75% of ad spend is by big pharma. If you're sitting there, you're wondering why the other 190-something countries don't allow pharma to advertise, you have to ask the question why. So what would happen in America if in 2024, moving forward, we took a 6-year break, big pharma, not permanent. Let's just take a 6-year break. Let's see how much anxiety drops in America. Let's see the levels of anxiety drop in America. I'm never going to hear about this end of the story I just gave you about my friend who back in 13, 14 years old, he thought he's going to get AIDS from masturbation. I'm sure that story's going to come up quite often when people ask me questions.
He's in the lobby with a rifle pack.
He's in the lobby.
Oh, this is why you do it in the vault. Now I got it. Yes.
Not that you can't get out, that they can't get in.
Exactly right.
Man, what do you think about this stuff? What do you think about why these countries are not doing it? Am I just like, going crazy right now thinking about why these other major countries in the world don't allow big pharma to advertise on their TVs?
I think we've just underlined it. And you can take a look at all this. Let's take a look at all look at the cost of all the hypochondriacs needless trips. So how much doctor's time would we save? How much deductible expenses, $15 a time, and the people that are hourly, that are not paid a salary, but then they don't work those hours because 4 hours are not there, because we all know it takes forever to sit in a waiting room. So they have to take half a day off, and then they got to pay $20. Add all that stuff up, Pat. Look at all the time and costs and societal benefit you would get out if we just could cut hypochondria in half in America.
But also, my guess is that the bigger problem is that we're really all worried about it. Have you ever read one of those doctor books? Or go on Net Doctor and see what are different kind of symptoms.
Every night, 1 hour a night.
WebMD.
1 hour a night.
It'll drive yourself crazy.
It's very easy to feel that there's a lot of things that could worry you. I don't think we need to be hypochondriacs to actually get more worries. So it would cut a lot more anxiety than just for the hypochondriacs. I'd like to just because I think actually we've sort of ended up in a place where we're talking very much about the same thing that we worry about with climate change, that we're in some ways allowing everyone to expand on all their fears and worries. And if you then confirmed constantly on TV, yes, you are going to die. Yes, that next hurricane you saw is actually the one that's out to kill you, and it's just going to get worse from here on out. We're essentially allowing, if you will, pharma ads and browsing on WebMD for the climate conversation as well. And maybe we should ask for a little more sensibility so that people wouldn't be as scared, both on medical issues and on climate.
Well, climate and pharmaceutical industry have one thing in common. They use the prospect of tremendous doom to get a purchase decision. Mm-hmm. And so call it what you will, when you line up with a saying, I'm supporting all the following elements of climate change. I'm going to do this. You've made a purchase decision. You've been sold. You've been marketed to. You've been lobbied, and you made a purchase decision. And so now you're with that group, with that mob. And that's what the pharmaceutical industry is doing. They're finding, pick a doom, get it out there, amplify it, and then be the solution.
Yeah, I think accidentally we have started a conversation on a topic that I would love for you to do more research on. That's why you came here today. I don't know if you know that.
I got a job and I got to go back in a year. Yeah.
If you could, I would be so curious to know the link, because I tell you, how miserable life can be if you have somebody who has hypochondria. You know how much it hurts the people around you? Yeah. Do you know why? Because the folks who have hypochondria, they don't know it, and they're not trying to hurt you. They're sincere. I don't think they're playing games because they need attention. I sincerely believe they are so afraid that the world is coming to an end with their health, that they're dying, that everybody around them constantly has to hear the message. You have no idea how sick I am.
Yeah.
Right.
If you only know how sick I am. You don't know how sick I am. Shame on you. Do you know what I'm going through? You know how sick I am? And if we don't bow down and say, oh my God, you are so sick, and you say the opposite, that's why you don't do research. You don't sympathize for people like us. The other person, like, look, man, I love you. I understand you. You may have some things here, but where does that fear come from? Now we know. Yeah. Thanks to Big Pharma, 75% of ad spend is these guys.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.